Hello everyone. Today my assembly will be all about community. Some of you might already know what that word means or have your own idea of what community means to you. But a really basic definition of community is a group of people who have similar characteristics or interests. Now, as a school, we are a community because we all come to St Dunstan's and we all want St Dunstan's to be a fantastic place. So we are a community at St Dunstan's, but all of us have different communities that we belong to. So, and over time, the idea of community has got a lot more complex because a long time ago, your community was who you lived near. It might be your neighbours, the people you go to school with, the people you might have gone to places of worship with. They were your community. But as the world has got more connected and as people have been living in more highly populated places, bigger cities, there's so many different types of communities. So there might be communities that you do belong to where you live because, you know, with your neighbours or people you live now, but there also might be communities that you belong to online, for example. And I think during this time of COVID, we've been even more curious and even more interested in how we can support each other when we're not physically together. So there's lots of communities that we can belong to both physically and also online. Now, I want you to have a think about what communities you belong to. Maybe you belong alongside St Dunstan's, maybe you belong to a church community, or maybe you go to Scouts, or maybe you have a football club that you follow and you're part of that community, or a dancing group that you work with, or maybe people through your family have made connections with a different type of community. So all of you will have different communities that you belong to, and have a think about who they might be. Now, I was really excited today to talk about community because I know of a really great organisation that I think defines what community means. And that is a group called In Deep. They're called In Deep Community Task Force. And they work in London, they work in Westminster. And it's a story about a man, it starts with a man called Colin Chapman. Now, Colin found himself homeless. About 20 years ago, he found himself homeless and living on the streets of Pimlico. Now, this is something that happens to thousands and thousands of people every single year, especially in a big city like London. There's lots of people who find themselves with nowhere to live. And so he was sleeping in all different places. He was sleeping in doorways. And then one night, while he was sleeping in a doorway, and he was used to people walking past him and ignoring him and pretending like he wasn't there, one night, an elderly man stopped and said to him, "Do you want to have a bath? Do you want to come back to my flat and use my bathroom?" Colin was really taken aback by this. It was a really generous offer from this old man who didn't know him, just lives in the same area. So Colin went back to this man's flat, and he went into this flat, and the man showed him the bathroom, and Colin was quite shocked because he found that this tiny flat, the bath was filthier than him, as he said. So he was just so grateful to this man for opening up his home that he scrubbed that bath clean and scrubbed himself clean. And then he sat down with him and they had a really long chat. And in that chat, this man was telling him how lonely he was and how alone he felt and things that he needed help with that he just didn't know who to ask, and how isolated he felt. And so as a way to pay him back, Colin said, well, look, I'll clean your windows for you. So he cleaned this elderly man's windows. And news got around the estate that Colin had done this, and soon enough he had lots of other residents coming up to him and saying, can you come and wash my windows? And the more he met these people, the more he realised how alone they were. Really, as he was cleaning their windows, they wanted to have someone to talk to, and they wanted to have someone to listen to them. And so that's what he did. He went and he cleaned windows, and he got to know a lot of the people in the state. And these relationships that he built with people who were a lot older than him really helped him to pull his life together. They really supported him as he then took care of himself and found and reconciled with his family and kind of built his life back together. So after that experience, Colin decided he wanted to do something more significant to support the people in the community that supported him. So when he had nowhere to go, when he had no one to talk to, the older people of the community reached out to him and really helped him, and he wanted to show them a way to pay them back. So that's when he created In Deep Community Task Force. And it started out with just handing out cups of coffee and having a chat. So now, years later, they are a well-established charity that works with the community of Westminster to tackle loneliness and promote connectedness. And they do this by having weekly jacket potato lunches every Wednesday. There is an over 50s choir. There is a monthly Saturday lunch in which people come. They pay a small amount of money to receive a full roast dinner and drink with entertainment, a dance floor, and also manicures as well. They also have beauticians there to provide manicures. And the most important thing about this event isn't eating, and it's not manicures, it's connectedness, it's being together. And for these people who feel as though they don't have many places to go, to have somewhere where they can go and spend time with other people. And it has many, many benefits for their mental and physical health. So the way that I came to be involved with In Deep was not initially through Colin, it was through Emma, his wife. Now, Emma and Colin have two sons, Luke and Jack. And Jack was diagnosed with autism. And so Emma found herself as part of a new community. She was now the member of a parent community of children who have special educational needs. And she found herself feeling quite isolated. She had to work very hard to get Jack the support that he needed. And she didn't really have the same connections with parents to talk about the struggles that she was having and the support that Jack needed and she needed. She was also concerned that Jack was not able to access music lessons the same way other kids could, and he loves music. So she set up a monthly music therapy group for children with special educational needs. And so once a month, there are licensed music therapists that run a group, leading the group in songs and musical activities. And it's really beneficial for them and their parents. And so I volunteered at those groups. That's how I started working with In Deep. And they continue to expand what they want to provide for these families, including we've been on trips to the zoo. I know they've gone to Kew Gardens, really thinking about ways that that community of parents and children can connect and support one another. So when we think about the word community and look at an organisation like In Deep Community Task Force, the thing that I really think about is the St Dunstan's value of compassion. Because for communities to be happy and healthy and to thrive, I think there has to be compassion. Compassion for those people in our community that maybe can't access what they need and need that bit more support. And for us as community members to think, how can we provide that support for them? Because a successful community is one where everybody is getting what they need and everybody is able to access the same things. So In Deep is one example of a community, and you can look them up and you might want to donate on their Just Giving page. But equally, there might be something more local to you, or even like we talked about online communities, there might be something that you're passionate about. And are there any members of your community that need you to connect with them, that need that bit more support? And that's something to take away and have a think about. Because I think as St Dunstan's community, that's something that we do very well. And I would love the idea and love to hear examples of how people are taking that to other elements of other communities that they belong to.